Hello, this is Lucretia with the Calm and Confident You podcast. I have been on vacation and I have a tale to tell you. I'm going to describe the recent successful outdoor adventure I had while on my vacation. I would not have had this experience if I did not value personal growth. Ever since I read the book The Call of the Wild as a kid, I've wanted to get out into natural areas, which are not on the common path, in order to see sights unseen from the typical car window or bike paths. I was interested in experiencing special moments in nature combined with an interest in photography. However, I am not and never have been a rough-it type of gal. I only became comfortable with camping in my 40s after I had LASIK eye surgery and no longer needed glasses or contacts to navigate the world. I've done some hiking, but not in the backwoods. And I used to go jogging for exercise and entered 5Ks and 10Ks. That was all a part of my personal growth journey. But now I am limited, and my body can't take the pounding or the risk of injury. 7 years ago, I saw a basic lake kayak for sale for $220. It's the kind that families have for their kids or grandkids. I live near lakes and had already tried stand-up paddleboarding as a way to play out on the water. I knew I could use a kayak for a few more months on the water in cooler weather. Since then, kayaking has come closest to getting me into less traveled areas, or at least areas with fewer people at a time. Typically, I have seen wildlife, such as eagles, hawks, ospreys, blue herons, red-winged blackbirds, other birds I can't identify, and of course ducks and geese and small fish, turtles, dragonflies, and butterflies. Along the way, I took swimming lessons to give me a chance of surviving a mishap on the water. I still would not call myself a skilled swimmer, and I am not experienced in open water, only in swimming pools. But I think I would at least have a chance of having some good automatic reactions if I were dumped into the water. It turns out that I have stuck with this hobby. It gets me outside in nature. I am able to go alone or with others, and it is both truly relaxing and good exercise. Now for contrast, my good childhood friend is the complete opposite. She's comfortable in the outdoors, camping, hiking, swimming, and floating rivers, starting as a child with her parents and continuing with her husband and their kids. She has been trying for years to have me join her on one of their floats. The distance we live apart and my lack of experience has stifled this. This summer, I had been planning a trip with my sister to visit the area where I grew up and to stay with that friend. She saw some recent photos I posted of my first kayaking venture since I had shoulder surgery last summer, and we started thinking about getting out on the water sometime during my visit. Well, we made it happen with me using my friend's nice kayak. It happened to be the same brand as one I had been researching because I am ready to level up in quality. She was in a raft and her husband was in his kayak. We went to an area where I know my brother has spent time fly fishing. It had easy, slow-moving water in a sometimes narrow and other times wide, and sometimes very shallow and other times 4 to 5 foot deep waterway called Silver Creek. I usually am on lakes and never have the companions or the organization to do the type of floating with separate put-in and get-out points with vehicles at each end. So this was a treat for me. And now for the spectacular payoff for this dedication to getting out there. After over an hour out on this float, enjoying the scenery, the companionship, and the feel of this great tracking and responsive kayak, I came around a bend, and directly in front of me on the other side of the creek was a mama moose and her calf. They stood in the water and were not spooked at all by my presence. I slowed my movements and stayed quiet as I managed to take some photos with my phone. I was thrilled that right on the screen I could tap to zoom in for closer shots. I was both aware of how special this moment was and the possible danger if the moose were to get spooked. I briefly thought of the videos I've seen of people in Yellowstone National Park getting too close to the bison. But it was clear the moose was steady and the water was slowly taking me around a grassy island away from the moose. I felt so lucky and happy to have been there in that moment, which will likely never be repeated. So I think I have talked about increasing levels of happiness by thinking about, writing about, and sharing positive events. Here I am doing just that by sharing this experience with you. I'm keeping the good vibes going for myself and hopefully inspiring you at the same time. I hope you can see that you don't have to be some great outdoorsman or a superhuman to be able to get out in some way which fits for you and your abilities. I just had to start on some basic level. Then I learned about racks and gear and increased my skills as I went. I tried different things until I found what works for me in my life. Now I have a picture of a moose and her calf, which I took myself. It is now the background wallpaper on my phone. It reminds me repeatedly of this moment of joy. This week, going forward, and/or for the rest of the summer, give your focus to some of the ways you spend your time which could bring about special experiences for you. Is there some way you could increase your access to these types of experiences? It doesn't have to be the same as me, and what you consider to be special will be unique to you. You never know when it will happen. You just need to regularly put yourself out there for an opportunity to arise. If you are liking this podcast, please subscribe to it on your favorite streaming service, tell others about it, and see my website at ldonreed.com for more info about me and other ways to connect with my content. And until next time, be well.